This is a quick demo of the Kartra Fonts Reviewer Pro that I've now included in the KCSG Tools for Kartra plugin for Chrome, which should be coming to your browser soon if it's not there already. To get to it from any app.kartra.com page where Tools for Kartra is enabled, because it's only enabled on the app.kartra.com pages, go to the Tools for Kartra icon. Click there to bring up the pop-up, and then there's a menu item at the top that says Font Reviewer. Click on that and it'll open in a new page, and you get a page like this which will show all of the fonts that show up in Kartra's font selector, and basically there are a couple of options here. You can change the font size. Initially it starts out at 36 pixels high. Seems to give a pretty decent size for viewing, but if you want to see what it will look like at a different size, like 24 pixels or something, you can resize to see what the font looks like, how clear or crisp it is, or check readability at different sizes. This is kind of a first draft at the reviewer. These sizes aren't calibrated to Kartra sizes. Maybe for a later version, if there's enough demand for it, I can look into calibrating these sizes to Kartra sizes. 36 pixels seems to be pretty good in my experience for reviewing the size. So you can change the size, just type in a new value. It takes CSS units, so you can do pixels or points or REMs, whatever you want to plug in there. You can either tab out, click out, or press enter to change a value. By default, it shows alphanumeric values. If you want to see a different sample text, for example, if you want to see how a particular headline might look in actual text, you can put in your example, and then all the text will show up as whatever text you put in here. So sometimes this gives a more realistic feel for what your text is going to look like than just using the standard alphanumerics. If you want to get the alphanumerics back, just clear that text field and it will reset to alphanumerics. Sometimes it's handy to see what a text will look like in a specific color pattern. So for example, let's go kind of Halloween themed here for a moment. So we could say we want orange text on a black background, so we can see what the text looks like in the color scheme we want to use. Just do a quick reset on that. In terms of picking specific fonts, you may want to go through and pick some fonts that you think might be candidates that you want to use. So for example, maybe we want this stencil font. You can click on the font name to send a font to a short list of your picks. So let's say we want to compare Arial and Aramo. Let's just pick a few others here. Cabin, Cantarelli, and then you can click on this button up here, go to top, and so now you'll see that the information block has been replaced by this short list of pre-picked fonts, which makes it very handy if you want to compare, like in your candidate fonts. Oh, is it a really wide font? Is it a compact font? How does it handle like descender characters? Which characters are descenders? Do I like a descender or not? If you get a font that you into your short list by accident, you can click remove and it'll go back to its previous position, properly alphabetically sorted in the additional fonts list. Oh, there's my stencil font. That's a good demo font. You can also, this is the normal rendering of the font. If you click on the checkbox, it'll also show you the bold, the italic, and the bold italic versions of the font, which can reveal information. So for example, with this stencil font, there are little breaks in the text to give the stencil feeling to it. But if you embolden this font, you'll notice that you lose pretty much all of the stencil effect. So this can give you a lot of extra feedback. You can see the stencil effect is still visible in the italic, but in the bold and the bold italic, you don't get to see the stencil effect anymore. So this can give you some good feedback on what the font is going to look like in a number of different conditions. And if you're comparing, you could say, okay, maybe I like cabin better, so I'm going to make that my leading contender. If you just single click, it moves up to the top. Whatever I single click on will move to the top of the list. If you want to change the order, maybe Aramo isn't my highest pick, I can drag that down and I can reorder this list. Maybe I like Arial better than Aramo, but I think I like Alerta Stencil better. So you can rearrange these and play with the size, play with the color patterns. So you can really test out quite a few options of how the font will look under different circumstances. So that is a quick tour of Kartra Fonts Reviewer Pro.